Predictions of what some are calling a blue wave. Nothing is guaranteed on Election Day. The latest CBS News battleground tracker shows Democrats with a chance to win the House. The numbers predict them clinching a 15-seat majority. However, the margin of error is 13 seats, close enough to say this will be a tight battle. And neither party is taking any chances. Former President Obama appeared on the campaign trail this week, and President Trump scheduled 11 rallies in the last 7 days. At one of his final stops Monday in Ohio, he told voters casting a ballot Tuesday is essential to his presidency.
But the key is you have to go out to vote. Because in a sense, I am on the ticket. You got to go out to vote. And you have to protect your rights and your freedoms.
Joining me now is Michael Graham. He's a columnist for the Boston Herald and a CBSN political contributor. And Joel Payne, he is a Democratic strategist and CBSN political contributor. I'm so glad to have both of you on set. Welcome. Michael, let me start with you. I want to ask about your recent piece for CBSNews.com. You write about what a, quote, win looks like in the midterm elections. Is there any consensus about what that might look like?
No, it was really interesting. I asked all these pollsters, like, so what is a win? Because we all, I mean, obviously the win is if Nancy Pelosi is speaker by one vote, period, it's a win. And I had several people push back on me and say, just don't even talk about it. But that's, I get a sense, I'd like to hear from you too, that there's a mood in the grassroots for Democrats that they think this is going to be big. They're thinking Republicans in 94, 53 seats. They're thinking Obama, 2010, 63 seats. And you just wonder, what will the mood of the grassroots be if they've spent literally $1 billion in small donors, the numbers you've never seen, and they've had this mass, candidates, primary challenges, terrific energy, and then they end up with a 2-seat, 3-seat majority, and they go backwards in the Senate. In other words, the next Kavanaugh is going to be more easily put through. Will it feel like a win? Of course, taking power is everything, but will it feel that way, and how will it affect their mood going into 2020?
I don't know. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, Joe.
Well, listen, I mean, when you think about a win, I think the goalposts have changed for everybody, right? And I'll give the president this credit. What he's actually done is he has recalculated the math here. Before, the thought of him losing the House was a loss. Well, now, the president has essentially conceded, I'm going to lose the House. So really, he's made the battlefield about the Senate. A place where I do think Democrats are going to, you're going to hear them talking about a lot, are governor's races, right? Where we know the important redistricting battles that are coming up, things at the local level that, frankly, I've said this before, Republicans boat race Democrats in over the last decade. Democrats have a chance to win that back. So I think Democrats are being smart about what is a win to them? And I think we're going to see that reflected in reactions.
What about expectations on the Democratic side here, Joel? Because, we mentioned the latest CBS News battleground tracker. It shows that Democrats are in position to take the House. However, we know what happened in 2016, where there was an expectation that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And we saw, of course, that didn't turn out to be the case. I don't know if you saw SNL. They had a clip of it in Ouija's piece where, kind of made fun of the Democrats' sort of level of confidence right now being so much shaky. I mean, what is the feeling right now?
There was actually a Politico article talking about the fact that Democrats actually have kind of, not to make fun of PTSD, but essentially a version of PTSD from 2016.
There's a great quote in that article from Democrat pollster. It says, we're pretty much at bedwetting time now. I mean, people are just so, this can't happen again. I can't do it again.
I mean, what are you hearing, Joel?
Here's what I would say. I think what Democrats want is to be able to compete all across the country. And what we've seen now is that Democrats aren't just competing in the Northeast and in parts of the West. Now the battlefield's open. A race that I want to bring up, Mississippi. Okay? Now, it's not a frontline race that we're talking a lot about, but Mike Espy, former Clinton nominee, running ahead of Cindy Hyde-Smith now, probably by about 10 points. Now, it's very unlikely that's going to be won by anyone tomorrow night, but it's probably going to go to a runoff. The idea that the fate of the Senate could come down to what happens in Mississippi, that's a big deal for Democrats to actually have a chance to win control of the Senate in the Deep South. By the way, it's not out of the question that they could win it. Alabama, look at what happened with Doug Jones about a year ago.
Well, it is out of the question that they're going to win it. Nothing personal, but you're right. But that's another thing. You wonder, what will it take for Republicans to say, this is what Trump is costing us? He cost us Alabama in a sense because of the craziness of the nominee that they had there that I would argue without Trump, you would not have had Judge Roy Moore. The special elections around the country, fighting to the death in Georgia 6, where I actually used to live, and the idea that would be, super competitive or come down to the wire was kind of crazy. If things go as badly as they can, And I think it's, if you told me that Wednesday morning wake up and the Republicans will have held the House by 1, I wouldn't be shocked. If you told me that they lost it by 50, I wouldn't be shocked. I have no clue what's going to happen. But there's a line somewhere where I think Republicans will start to turn on Trump, start to ask the question, was as good as it felt to stick it to the Democrats by having a battler in there to really represent me, was it worth the actual cost on the ground?
So that brings me to my next question for you, Michael, because we hear the president out on the campaign trail. You know, he has focused recently on immigration and ramping up sort of that rhetoric. But I wonder, he also kind of goes on these extended riffs, right, where he brings up everything, including the 2016 election. And I wonder, is there a way to tell what the practical effect of that is if you're a Republican out there that maybe is not one of the Trump base voters?
Well, the
what
practical
do you hear in that?
the practical effect for Trump is that he's having a great time. I mean, remember, he's not being president; he's playing the president.
Okay.
So that's part of his.
But is there something for Republicans besides those base voters?
Does he care? I have not any sense that he really cares that much. And so I mean, does it help? Like, for example, go to Tennessee, and maybe it was on the fence. I don't think it really is now. But maybe a few more people say, yeah, I got to go out and support Trump. And so in some of these swing districts have them play at the margins. But the way that the president misses the opportunity for message discipline is definitely a net cost to the Republican Party.
Because where does that leave them?
Exactly.
Where does that leave these
On the one hand,
candidates?
you've got these low motivation voters who turned out for him in 2016. If he can turn them out in 2018, it would be a big deal. No, that's the upside. But you also have other people who are less motivated to vote Republican because of these riffs and the crazy talk and his behavior. And that's the math that we're going to see Wednesday morning, is the cost of the Trump presidency for the GOP.
But here's what's interesting, Elaine, and we talked about this before. President Trump creates clarity, right? There is no way, right, particularly if you're an independent or you're an undecided, it's very hard to be that in this environment. You either know you are with Donald Trump and you're with the Republican agenda, or you're not. So one thing the president has done is really simplified the math. He's made it a binary choice. A friend of mine who I worked with in Senator Reid's leadership office, he said something really interesting on Twitter a couple weeks ago. He said, there is no a la carte with Donald Trump. You can't have a little bit of Donald Trump and leave a little bit to the side. You have to own all of it. And Republicans are in a position where they have to decide, do we want to own all of it, or do we only want to own some of it? So
let me ask you this. To look at that same question, right, are you with us or are you against us? You have former President Obama, right, on the campaign trail. Does he not contribute to that sense as well? Is he not also helping to frame this as a binary choice?
Well, sure. And I think what President Trump has actually done is he's nationalized this race all across the country. He's essentially made it impossible for any Republican to say, I'm just running in this local little laboratory. No, this is a referendum on Donald Trump all across the country. Again, it's not just a vote for Ron DeSantis. It's a vote for Donald Trump. It's not just a vote for Cindy Hyde-Smith. It's a vote for Donald Trump or for the other people who aren't doing the things that the president wants. And the president has made that very clear. And I think everybody, including President Obama, has had to follow suit. So
let me just follow up, because is there then a lost opportunity to get anybody who may still be independent or undecided when you have President Obama among those sort of adding to the rhetoric?
So that's really interesting when you think about the math, right? If you look at 2016, the place that the Democrats always were struggling, and Hillary, and I know this from being in the campaign, always struggled was with independents. We were running behind on independents the entire time. I was talking to a pollster today, a Democratic pollster, and what he said is follow the independents. Tomorrow, instead of Election Day, you might as well call it Independence Day. Because honestly, where the independents go, that's where the election's going to go. You look at those undecideds, where those late breakers are going to go, follow the independents. The independents right now are favoring Democrats, even if from anywhere from 5 to 10 points. That's what gives Democrats an edge going into tomorrow.
And what's the reality here, Michael? I mean, this is an election that is really a referendum on President Trump. I mean, he said that himself. There are probably some Republicans who don't necessarily want a visit from the president and who are not interested in making this about President Trump. I mean, we don't have to go very far for that, right? New Jersey, you have examples of that. What is this ultimately about this year?
Well, I think the measurement of Trump, both from the people broadly and then for Republicans, but it's interesting because on the one hand, you have Republicans who suffer now that the race is nationalized. The governor's race in New Hampshire, where Governor Sununu had a solid lead. There's a poll today that says that they're tied. It's a little bit, it is closer than it should be because the race got nationalized. And all these Democrats who thought he did a good job, they said, I don't even care about the job he did. And I'm saying he didn't do a good job. I'm going to vote to show I hate Trump. At the same time, in Indiana and in West Virginia and in North Dakota, which is kind of already done, but in some of the red places, that has really helped those candidates. And in Braun in Indiana really sagged there for a while until the wheels of the nationalization. This is going to be a vote about Trump. The Republicans came home. When Republicans come home in red states, Republicans do better. When Democrats come home in blue states, like New Jersey and New Hampshire, not so good.
But I don't even think you can just look at the blue and the red states. Look at a place like Kansas, okay? Laura Kelly is running ahead in most polls I've seen of Chris Kobach. That's unspeakable, right? That Chris Kobach, a Trump favorite in the heart of Trump country, would be in trouble to someone like a Laura Kelly. Look at South Dakota. Billy Sutton is running really close with Kristi Noem. Again, another person who's followed that Trump agenda very closely.
Right.
So these aren't blue states. These are red states in a lot of cases where Democrats really are in play.
What are the chances that we may not have answers to some of these key races, come, I don't know, 2 a.m. on Wednesday morning?
Well, I mentioned Mississippi before. I think Georgia requires some analysis as well, right? Because, that's also another runoff state. So you look at Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp. That's another race that could go a month in advance. And that becomes, you could look at a world where we don't know the fate of the Senate, and we don't know who's the governor of Georgia probably by midnight or 1 or 2 a.m., a few hours after all the polls have closed. There's a very real possibility that could become the laboratory, of who won election night. It could be delayed a month. That's fascinating.
Well, that's also what Republicans, that's their best case scenario. Because if things go the way they could go, if they go the way that the last round of polling, since the last 24 hours of polling have been very bad for Republicans, then it's going to be relatively early night in the broad picture. Like there'll be individual races, but you'll kind of know where things are going. But if you go through the night and it's, everything's on the cusp, that is there are 17 ways for Democrats to win this race. There's one way for Republicans, and it's a very narrow path. Man.
All right, last question for both of you. Michael, I'll start with you. What do we miss when we watch from a distance in New York? And I mean, we try to get down there from time to time, but if you're watching and you're in the national media, we always kind of get accused of missing sort of the bigger picture for those folks in those local communities. What are some of those storylines, Michael, that we need to pay attention to?
It's interesting. I know in a regular election, I think I would have more to tell you, but it really has gotten nationalized down at the kitchen table level. I have been to so many campaign events or to go give a speech. I'll be in Massachusetts. There are only like 3 Republicans in Massachusetts. They all want to talk about Trump, and the 93 liberals want to too. And so it's interesting how it's absorbed everything. Every race at some point you're running for state legislature in New Hampshire. They have 400 House members, it's the biggest legislature in the world, and every one of them has had to answer the question: what about Trump? What does Trump have to do with the water system in Nashua? It doesn't matter. Trump.
Right. That's what's different this year. What about you, Joel?
I think Michael's right. Listen, you cannot escape President Trump. Okay, you cannot look at a world and say, oh, you know what, the president isn't a factor here because, like you said, because of all of those local issues that we're normally accustomed to. Right? There's a ballot initiative, or the pipes are leaky, or they're not picking up the garbage on time. It's all about President Trump, and that's what's so fascinating about this.
Yeah, I mean, if early voting numbers are any indication, I mean, there is immense interest in this election. All right, Michael Graham, Joel Payne, thanks to you both. Great to see you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.